On 29th April 2022, the seventh day of our tour of Turkiye, after visiting the former Byzantine Christian cathedral Hagia Sophia, or the present-day Hagia Sophia Grand Mosque, we walked a few hundred meters to the nearby Topkapi Palace, known in Turkish as Topkapi Saray. Topkapi Palace, directly translated as Cannon Gate Palace, is located on Seraglio Point, a promontory overlooking the Marmara Sea, the Golden Horn, and the Bosphorus, and therefore a natural strategic location. Topkapi Palace is undoubtedly one of Istanbul's top tourist attractions and had been the heart of the Ottoman Empire and the residence of the sultans and their women of the harem for nearly 4 centuries, until Sultan Abdulmajid in 1853 decided to move the court to the Dolmabahce Palace. Off to the left, there is the Church of Hagia Irene, or in Turkish known as Aya Irini Kilisesi, the city's only church of the pre-Ottoman era that was never turned into a mosque. This church, also known as the Church of Saint Irene, is older than Hagia Sophia. It was used as an arsenal for storing weapons until the 19th century. The Hagia Irene today operates as a museum and concert hall. The palace is located directly behind the Hagia Sophia and was built on the same spot where the Acropolis of the ancient Greek city of Byzantium stood. Some of its remains are still visible inside the palace. Mehmed the Conqueror, also known as Fatih Sultan Mehmed, ordered the construction of the palace in 1459, shortly after his conquest of Constantinople in 1453. Mehmed the Conqueror established the basic layout of the palace. He summoned experienced artisans and used the most expensive and rare materials of that time in an attempt to restore the city's former glory. Rather than a single building, it consisted of a series of pavilions contained by 4 immense courtyards. It was a stone version of the tented encampments from which the nomadic Ottomans had emerged. Contrary to other royal residences that had strict master plans, Topkapi Palace developed over the course of centuries, with various sultans adding and changing various parts. Renovations were also carried out after the 1509 earthquake and the 1665 fire. The final version of the palace covered an area of 700,000 square meters and was home to as many as 4,000 people. Topkapi Palace was the official residence of the Ottoman sultans since Mehmed the Conqueror until the reign of Sultan Abdulmajid in 1853. For a 400-year period, the palace was the administrative, educational, and cultural center of the Ottoman Empire. Initially, the palace served as a seat of government and imperial residence. It contained a school in which civil servants and soldiers were trained. It also contained dormitories, gardens, libraries, and even mosques. Access was strictly regulated, and inhabitants of the palace rarely had to venture out since the palace functioned as an autonomous entity, a city within the city. In 1853, Sultan Abdulmajid abandoned Topkapi Palace in favor of Dolmabahce Palace. From that moment on, the sultans no longer resided in Topkapi Palace. After the fall of the Ottoman Empire and the foundation of the Turkish Republic, upon the order of Ataturk Mustafa Kemal Pasha, the palace started to serve as a museum on 3rd April 1924, consisting of an area of 100,000 square meters, 200,000 archived documents, 86,000 antiques, and 20 exhibition halls. The entrance to the palace is via the Imperial Gate, erected by Sultan Fatih in 1478. This massive gate is now covered in 19th century marble and decorated with verses from the Holy Quran and with niches that were used to display the severed heads of rebels and criminals. The gate leads to the first of a series of 4 courts that become more private as you go deeper into the complex. The first courtyard, also known as the Court of the Janissaries or Parade Court, functioned as an outer precinct or park. Furthermore, the first courtyard contains the former imperial mint, the magnificent Istanbul archaeological museums, and various pavilions and fountains, such as the fountain of the executioner next to the ticket windows. Here, the executioner washed his hands and sword after a decapitation. Janissaries, or infantry units that formed the Ottoman Sultan's household troops and bodyguard, and merchants could circulate freely in the court of the Janissaries, but the second courtyard was restricted. Today, this is still very much the case, since you must buy a ticket to enter the palace and its other 3 courtyards. The second courtyard was completed in 1465 during the reign of Sultan Murad II. It is an important courtyard where the Sultan held meetings with his top level courtiers. The golden Bayram throne located here is where the Sultan sat and heard out his counsel. Also located in the second courtyard are the extensive imperial kitchens and the palace hospital, bakery, and the imperial harem. Throughout the years, quite a few samples of Roman and Byzantine artifacts have been unearthed in the Topkapi, and these are displayed in the second courtyard itself. The main parts of this courtyard are the Imperial Council and the Imperial Treasury. The Imperial Council is adorned with multiple marble pillars, and the wooden ceiling is painted green and white and carved intricately with gold. The second courtyard ends with the massive gates of felicity, which will lead you into the third courtyard. Also called the Inner Palace, is a huge garden into which the Gate of Felicity opens. It has a few of the most important sections of the palace: the Privy Chamber, Harem, another treasury, and the massive library of Sultan Ahmad II. This is where the page boys of the sultans, who were young men who would learn art, music, and calligraphy to entertain the emperor. The better they became, the more they rose in rank and the more their popularity increased. The third courtyard has the most important mosque of the palace, Mosque of the Agas. It also houses the sacred privy chamber, which houses the cloak of Muhammad and a hair from his beard. The fourth courtyard, or the inner sofa, is the most intimate part of the palace, where the Sultan and his entire family led their private lives. It has kiosks and gardens sprawled over the entire area. The primary structure here is the circumcision room, where all the male members of the royal family were circumcised. Of the plethora of kiosks, the most important ones are the Yerevan kiosk and the Iftar kiosk. The Yerevan kiosk was used as a small religious retreat wherein the person would enclose himself here for a period of 40 days. The Iftar kiosk was used by the Sultan to break his fast during Ramzan. The harem was home to the mother, wives, concubines, and children of the Sultan, and it is a massive structure that spreads over 400 rooms. It has many sections, all interconnected by galleries and passageways.
How long to see the Topkapi?